Hi, this is Adam Carlson, Student Affairs Counselor for FDU School of Pharmacy. Thank you very much for participating in today's video training for the Student Pharmacists Association's Alliance Peer Mentoring Program. Today, the topic of our training is going to cover an introduction to campus resources, and I can't impress upon you enough how important it is for you in the leadership position that you've decided to take as a peer mentor in being knowledgeable about the resources that are available to students here at the School of Pharmacy, at Fairleigh Dickinson University as a whole, and beyond FDU. The purpose of today's training is not to go through an exhaustive list of the resources that are available to students. You'll actually be receiving a list of those campus resources that will be at the forefront for students via email separately. But for today's training, the purpose is really to make sure that we're all on the same page and understand conceptually why it's so important to be savvy about the resources that are available to students, because you as a peer mentor are going to be the most easily accessible and the greatest resource for our new incoming P1 students. Reason being because you're talking out of experiences and you know the ins and outs of the student experience both in the classroom and outside the classroom. So as we begin this training, I want you to really take a step back and think about the time when you were a newly admitted student into FDU School of Pharmacy. You got your acceptance letter and you probably had, at least the entire summer to think about what life was going to be like as a student pharmacist here. You had a chance to think about what your experience was going to be. You probably might have had some different feelings. Maybe you were very excited, maybe you were nervous. And you also probably had some different questions and some different expectations about what your life as a student pharmacist was going to be like here. As you're thinking about these things, just understand that the most important thing for you guys as a peer mentor is to really connect to the students and help the new incoming students to feel like they're connected to something bigger. We're going to have students who are coming in from all different backgrounds. We're going to have students from different cultural backgrounds, from different age groups, with different interests. We're going to have students who are coming in from different colleges and with different, expectations based on their past educational experiences. We're going to have people who are coming in with different professional experiences, some of whom might have had, a long list of things on their resume in terms of their career, some of whom who have never worked in pharmacy before at all. And we're also going to have a lot of students who are coming in with some first-time experience as well. So, keep that in mind as you're planning to reach out to your students, make them feel welcome, and also to make them feel connected and make their transition into pharmacy school as smooth as possible. The first thing that I would suggest thinking about is, what would you have wanted to know about FDU School of Pharmacy before you came in? So, think about it. What are the things that were on the forefront of your mind when you were accepted and imagining yourself as a student pharmacy here at FDU? From our end, in terms of the staff, a lot of times when we talk to new students and we talk to prospective students, we get a range of questions that fall under a variety of topics. Some examples of which are the following. We get a lot of questions about academics. So, what are classes like? How long do classes run in a day? Will I really be in class from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. every single day? What about the faculty? Are they easily accessible? What type of working style do the faculty have? Things of that nature. We get a lot of questions about balancing pharmacy school. Do I have time to have a social life? Will I make friends here? Do students do things outside of class, or do they kind of show up and then go home? Can I balance work and the other obligations that I have, outside of the classroom? We get a lot of questions about financial aid. How do I pay for college or for pharmacy school? How do I manage? Um, Things like the campus culture, like what do people do here? Like what sorts of things are available outside of pharmacy school? These are some of the questions that we get asked. So for you, think about that, and think about, how exactly you connect and how you find yourself, um, and how and what you expected out of your pharmacy education prior to coming in. The second thing is, what would you have needed to know about that might not have been on your mind? So yeah, maybe classes and academics and, balancing your social life might have been the things that you were thinking about. But what are some of the important things that would have been useful that you weren't thinking about? For example, if you run into any sorts of problems with any of your classes, what do? Who can you come and talk to? How do the faculty members respond to, providing extra help? If I really have a problem, can I talk to the deans? How does that work out? How do some of the processes work here at FDU? So, for example, registering for classes, being able to, guide them through that process or other processes like IPI selection and things of that nature. How could those things have been easier for you that you might not have been thinking about, at the forefront when you were about to come into pharmacy school? What about the things that are offered on campus that you might not think about? So, yes, we do have a recreation center here, and some of our pharmacy students form an intramural team, which is fun and exciting. But do students know that there's also a counseling center? So if you become stressed out, you can always make an appointment with a counselor at the counseling center and at the health center, just so that you can have somebody to talk to and somebody who will listen to you, and you can air out your frustrations. Things like this. These are the things that students need to know about just in case they need them. And the third question to think about is, how do all these resources and how do all these bits of information fit into the campus culture? The biggest and most important thing, in my mind, a a peer mentor can do for its new students is really to help them to feel connected to the campus and feel included in something bigger. So, for example, I'll offer this experience for me during my college days. At the university that I went to, football was a huge component of the campus culture. So, no matter who you were, whether you were a new student or in your senior year about to graduate, whether you were a biology student or an English major, everybody was able to come together under football because that was the most central part of the campus culture in the fall. So anytime that there was a game, whether it was a big championship game against one of our big competitive rivals, or even just a smaller game at home, best believe that every single at home game, you'd have loads of people flocking to the football stadium in our school colors, and we'd make a whole day out of it. So using that example, what sort of culture do we have here? If I'm interested in something, am I able to find it here? So going with that sports theme, if I'm interested in sports, sure, maybe we might not have a big culture revolving around our school's football team, but do we have people here who are into that I can get together with on a Saturday and maybe throw a football around with or throw a baseball around with? If I'm into, if I'm really into professional development, where can I find that? How can I find some opportunities to, yeah, advance my pharmacy career here for whatever it is that I want to do? Can I find people for that? If all I want to do is be able to go out and unwind with some fellow students, do we have groups of students who go and do that? So with you all as students, there are definitely pieces of our campus culture that you certainly fall into and you participate in, which is great. And as a resource, you can certainly invite our students to participate in those things. And also, as a student, your peers will be into certain things as well. So maybe your mentee might not, be really into something that you're passionate about, but you might know a group of students who are passionate about something that they have a common interest in. So there's an opportunity to make a new student feel connected to another group of people. We've all heard the expression, give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, but teach him how to fish and you feed him for a lifetime. So I threw this quote up, give someone directions and they might make it there once, but show them how to find those directions though, ... What I mean here is that when referring people to campus resources, it's very, very easy to give them a list and a phone number and a name and say, call this person up. However, it's always so much better when you're able to show them how to find those resources on their own. If you just give somebody a name, they might lose that name, discard it, and ask you the same question over and over again. But when you actually show them how to go about getting what they need, then they'll be able to do it themselves on their own from there on out, and exhibit that independence. So if it's a campus resource, like let's say the Housing and Residence Life Department, it's one thing to be able to just say, oh, hey, yeah, if you are interested in living on campus, you can call up the Res Life Department. But it's completely different when you show them how to navigate the FDU website and find the contact information for them, so that way any subsequent time that they need to contact Housing and Residence Life, they can do that. Likewise, outside the classroom, let's say that you have a student who is interested in intramural sports, let's say intramural basketball. It's one thing to say, okay, yeah, sure, we have a few guys who form an intramural team, and that's great. But it's completely different when you actually actively reach out and introduce them to some of the people who might be in charge of putting that team together, or leading them to the department on campus, which is the recreation center, and how to lead out the process of forming their own team and things of that nature. So as a resource, always make sure it isn't your job so much to just dispense information, but really make an experience out of it and connect people to people. Now, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns about any of the content here, or have any questions about connecting people to other resources, additional resources, you can certainly send them my way, and I'd be happy to take you through any information and impart any information that I can and advice that I can onto you. My contact information is right here, so please shoot any questions, comments, and concerns to me via email. I'd be happy to either respond in writing via email or make an appointment. You can also call me up at my office number, which is 973-443-8413. So with that, thank you very much for your time. I hope that this presentation was useful, and I look forward to being in touch with you.